Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a really fascinating plunge into this idea, this concept that things seeming totally impossible right now can actually become reality tomorrow. It makes you think of people like Jack Ma, right? Building Alibaba against, well, just incredible odds, all about vision, persistence, courage, when pretty much everyone doubted him.
Absolutely, that persistence is key.
And we're going to take that lens, that whole philosophy, and apply it to India. In this deep dive, we'll unpack how India has, time and again, turned these massive challenges, things people thought were just insurmountable, into real opportunities, real achievements.
Yeah, it's less about luck, definitely more about, big dreams meeting very focused, relentless execution.
Exactly. So our mission for you today is really to uncover those specific moments and maybe more importantly, the driving forces behind India's journey from impossible to possible. We want to kind of pull back the curtain on how this nation, once, let's be honest, widely dismissed, has emerged as this global force.
And what's really significant here, and you see this across the board in the research, is that understanding this isn't just about India, it's about finding those universal principles. Innovation, resilience, leadership.
Right.
These stories offer sort of a blueprint, lessons that apply to any challenge, really, whether you're facing it alone or leading a team or even, guiding a whole community. It's powerful stuff. Believing in what others say can't be done and then, making it happen.
Okay, so let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Turning the impossible into reality. Where did India even start? If you rewind, and some of the historical sources really paint this picture, there was just widespread skepticism about India's ambition.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Many people just didn't buy into what the nation could achieve on its own steam.
Right.
Take space research. Can you picture it? The 1970s, there were these images going around, often shown with a bit of derision.
Bullock carts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Launching satellite parts on bullock carts.
Yeah.
It became this symbol for some of a nation maybe reaching too far.
Overreaching, yeah. But fast forward to today. The contrast is, it's just staggering. ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, they're celebrated now, launching missions to the moon like Chandrayaan-3, even Mars.
Successfully, too.
Successfully. And here's the kicker, something that comes up again and again in the research. They're doing it at a fraction of the cost you see elsewhere globally.
Right.
From bullock carts to landing on the moon.
Right.
That's quite the leap, isn't it?
It really is. And what's fascinating there, picking up on your point about cost, is this idea of frugal engineering that ISRO pioneered.
Yes. Frugal engineering.
It wasn't just about saving money, It was a deliberate strategy. They innovated with modular designs, they reused infrastructure cleverly, optimized everything. It drastically cut costs without sacrificing the quality of the missions.
That's smart.
Very smart. And it showed incredible audacity, pursuing space when, frankly, basic infrastructure was still developing. But that laid the groundwork. It proved that impossible is often just temporary if you have that sustained vision and, crucially, the effort to back it up.
That's a fantastic point. Frugal, but ambitious. Okay, and then there's the IT revolution, another area where back in the 80s, the idea of India becoming a global software powerhouse, it seemed, almost laughable to many.
Unthinkable, yeah. The infrastructure wasn't there, the global perception.
Exactly. But look now, companies like Infosys, TCS, Wipro, they're not just players, they dominate, employing millions, providing essential tech services worldwide. It really defied all those early doubts.
It did. And, the success wasn't overnight. It wasn't just one thing. It was a mix, obviously huge talent, but also strategic government policies focused on education and, importantly, facilitating software exports. Plus, they cleverly used the time zone difference for 247 operations.
Right. That made a big difference.
Huge. So this initial leap, despite all the doubt, showed this deep national capacity. It wasn't just about writing code, it was building an entire industry, systematically from the ground up. It really proves that you often plant the seeds for future success right when everyone else is skeptical. Kind of the Jack Ma story, right? Those early struggles.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings us to where it gets really interesting, the role of vision and leadership. That parallel with Jack Ma facing failure after failure before Alibaba took off, that resilience, that unwavering belief, you see that reflected in India's journey too. It's about playing the long game.
Definitely. Strategic patience.
Let's talk about some key leaders. First, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. His impact was just immense.
Yeah.
His vision wasn't just tech for tech's sake, it was deeply about self-reliance.
National pride.
Yes. He fundamentally transformed India's defense and space tech, fostering this belief that India could build its own capabilities instead of always depending on others. He ignited this spirit of like scientific patriotism.
And what's powerful about Kalam, you see this in the analysis, is how his leadership went beyond just policy papers. He connected science directly to national identity, to self-sufficiency. That top-down belief created an environment where scientists felt empowered to tackle really audacious projects. That commitment to indigenous capability, even when buying foreign tech might have seemed quicker. That was fundamental in turning those impossible goals into reality.
A really foundational shift. Okay, and then fast forward a bit, let's talk about Narendra Modi's Digital India program. When that launched, especially the digital payments part for rural areas back around 2015, wow, the skepticism was huge.
Oh yeah, people thought it was way too complex, too ambitious for the scale, the diversity.
Exactly, but the transformation, it's been absolutely stunning. India is now the world leader in digital payments thanks to UPI, the Unified Payments Interface.
It's incredible, the adoption rate.
It really is. It lets you do instant bank transfers with just your phone. And it's not just cities you see roadside tea sellers, even in tiny villages using QR codes. That was truly an impossible dream. Just a few years back, now it's just normal life.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, the really key insight here is the concept of digital public infrastructure, or DPI.
DPI, right?
UPI's success wasn't just the app. It was the government strategically building these open source payment rails. And crucially, it sat on top of the JAM Trinity. That's the bank accounts, Jantan, the digital identity, Aadhaar, and mobile connectivity.
The foundational layers.
Precisely. That provided the secure identity and banking access needed for mass adoption. It's a unique model getting a lot of global attention now. But it does raise that question, doesn't it? How do you get people, especially in such a diverse country, to believe in and actually adopt these huge, seemingly impossible changes?
That is the question. And what seems clear is it was that mix of top-down enablement, building the infrastructure, combined with really simple bottom-up usability.
Okay.
The government built the rails, yeah, but the interface was so intuitive, so beneficial, no transaction fees, instant confirmation that adoption just took off organically. People saw the direct value.
So the belief spread from the ground up once the tools were there.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've got leadership, but what's really turbocharging things today, that leads us to another massive engine, India's innovation ecosystem and its incredible young population.
The demographic dividend.
Right. Over 65% of the population is under 35. That's not just a number. It's this huge pool of energy, ideas, and potential productivity. If you give them the right opportunities,
it can drive immense growth. Yeah.
And it seems those opportunities are appearing. The startup ecosystem growth is just massive. India is now top 3 globally for startups and unicorns, those billion-dollar private companies.
Yeah, the projections are what, over 100 unicorns by 2025?
Something like that. It's an explosion, really, turning challenges into new businesses.
And what's fascinating is how this demographic dividend and this entrepreneurial spirit are working together. These young innovators aren't just copying what's done elsewhere, they're actively shaping new industries.
Yeah, so...
Well, take Byju's and EdTech. They didn't just replicate a Western model. They really understood the specific learning needs, the accessibility issues in India, creating engaging, bite-sized content for a mobile-first generation. That's solving a problem, not just taking one.
That's a great example, tailored innovation. And I was struck by the private space companies too, like Agnico Cosmos and Skyroot Aerospace. A decade ago, building rockets privately in India seemed impossible. That was ISRO's domain.
Totally.
Now you have young entrepreneurs doing it. It speaks volumes about that youthful audacity, doesn't it? And the changing landscape.
Absolutely. And these ventures highlight this concept of leapfrogging. They're not always following the step-by-step development path. They're often jumping straight to advanced technologies, applying them to Indian or global challenges, often with that same cost effectiveness, that frugal engineering DNA we talked about earlier.
Right, it's embedded now.
Exactly. So youth, digital infrastructure, a supportive startup scene,
Yeah.
means innovators aren't just adapting, they're creating.
Okay, let's widen the lens again. Thinking about India's role globally now, it's not just about internal transformation, it's about tackling global challenges, showing its emerging power.
Stepping up.
Look at the COVID-19 response. When the pandemic hit, India moved incredibly fast to produce its own vaccines, Covaxin and Covishield.
In record time, yeah.
And it wasn't just for India, they became this vital global supplier, earning that title, Pharmacy of the World. supplying millions and millions of doses abroad. A huge contribution.
Critically important. And that ability, developing and mass producing vaccines at that speed, it wasn't just science. It was scaling up manufacturing, navigating complex regulations under immense pressure.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there were global debates about vaccine equity, but India's sheer production capacity was undeniable and absolutely essential for many developing nations. It really showcased that ability to execute complex projects under fire.
Definitely. Then there's renewable energy. India was so heavily reliant on coal, but the shift now is massive. It's become the third largest producer of renewable energy. Solar power is reaching millions. That's a monumental change.
And what's interesting there is the dual approach. It's the big solar farms, yes, but it's also the decentralized stuff, getting solar to remote villages that never had reliable electricity before.
Right, reaching everyone.
So it tackles climate change and energy poverty. That localized innovation is a potential model for others, showing how you can pivot strategically, even on a massive scale.
And speaking of massive scale, infrastructure growth, these mega projects are just redefining connectivity. Things like the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway, the Ahal Tunnel.
Incredible engineering feats.
They really are. They're symbols, aren't they? Symbols of achieving what seemed out of reach, connecting regions, driving the economy forward, just sustained national effort.
Yeah.
And just to hammer it home, that ultimate impossible made possible moment we touched on, Chandrayaan-3 landing on the moon's south pole in 2023.
The first country to do it there.
The first country. That just highlights this incredible leap in capability and ambition that decades ago few would have believed possible.
And this really brings up the question of scale and resilience, doesn't it? These aren't small wins.
No.
They're huge, complex projects across vital sectors: health, energy, infrastructure, space. It shows a national capacity not just to dream big, but to actually execute these incredibly complicated things and make a real contribution globally. It demonstrates that muscle, that mindset to tackle challenges that would overwhelm many. It proves that sustained national effort really can move mountains or, land on unexplored bits of the moon.
So where does this all lead? What about the future? Well, the analyses suggest India isn't just playing catch-up anymore. In some areas, it's actively starting to lead.
Right, setting the pace in certain fields.
They're seeing big strides in artificial intelligence, lots of startups innovating in healthcare, agriculture, education, creating localized AI solutions with global potential.
Applying AI to specific needs,
And in defense and space beyond Chandrayaan, there's the Gaganyaan mission, the plan to put Indian astronauts in space, a manned spaceflight program.
That's the next giant leap, isn't it?
It really is, especially considering, as we said, where it started, bullet carts to human spaceflight. Wow! And all this feeds into India's growing global influence, geopolitically, in trade, in tech. It's becoming this indispensable player on the world stage.
And it all circles back, doesn't it? Back to that core idea we started with, that the impossible really is just a state of mind.
Seems so.
India's journey, like Jack Ma's story, like the efforts of those leaders we discussed, it just vividly shows that with resilience, with a clear vision, and crucially with that collective effort, any challenge, no matter how huge it seems, can be turned into an achievement. It's a powerful lesson really about human potential.
What an incredible journey we've traced today. India's story really does illustrate that power of vision, leadership, innovation, turning what seems impossible into something real, something impactful. It's a testament to the human spirit, and I hope thinking about these examples gives you, food for thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe as you reflect on this, think about something in your own life, or maybe your work, that feels impossible right now. What single thing might unlock it? Could it be a shift in vision, like we saw with Kalam, a different approach to leadership? Or maybe finding a new way to collaborate, unlocking that collective effort. What might be the key to turning your impossibility into your next reality?
A great question to leave everyone with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Carry that spirit of possibility with you, and we'll see you next time.